Let's find out what's in the feed. What's in the feed this week? Let's find out what's in the feed. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special episode of What's in the Feed. Look at the new studio here. Hopefully it's going to improve a little bit of the quality and a little bit of the visual due to some of the success of the show so far, which has been well received. We're still working on the expansion of the brand here. So now you're able to get this weekly on YouTube. So what I found out is I was hurting myself with trying to have it as a Rumble exclusive. It seems that Rumble has not been adopted as the main channel for videos. So because of the popularity of YouTube, we're going to start posting it on YouTube simultaneously with Rumble. I like to support Rumble because Rumble is the only conservative platform out there where we can guarantee that our stuff is going to be looked at and it's not going to be censored and it's not going to be throttled like it is on YouTube. But let's face it, everybody is used to YouTube. It's easy to navigate and people are just used to it. They like it a little bit better. So that said, we're going to make sure that we start doing this on YouTube and on Rumble. And don't forget that you can also get this as the podcast. So this podcast is available on Podbean, all free content every week. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before I thought that we had finally slayed the dragon called Bill Jubrand, and I hate to have to give this guy any sort of play. He's one of the worst individuals that I've come across dealing in this social media thing, which to me is relatively new. I've been on social media, but taking a more involved and active place in the algorithm on commenting and adding content shows the true nature of some of the people, and it's usually the people on the left. However, it has expanded here recently, and I've started to notice it. You know, we have to admit that there's a lot of crazies on our side as well. And that was proven to me with the whole Candace Owens issue. As you guys know, last episode, that one of my posts went viral. I mean, big time viral. So what happened was I was giving a compliment to Laura for basically destroying, giants of the conservative world. I had been loosely involved in a beef that her and Roger Stone were having like a week ago, where Roger was really just unleashing some foul responses to her, personally attacking her. And I like them both. And I said that. I still respect Roger Stone. Roger Stone has commented back to me several times directly. To his credit, he did not block me. The interaction between us was opinion-based. He had his opinion on who he thought would actually won the fight between the two of them. But I think that right now, and I've seen it happen, I went all the way back to the MTG battle. Right now, Laura is undefeated. I know a lot of people don't like her, and I get it. I know there's a lot of people who don't like Trump, and I get that. They're divisive, but what they do, or what they are, let me just put it this way, they are the best at what they do. And I would never, ever volunteer myself to get on Laura's wire. She is a pit bull, and I've seen her dispatch some people that I thought would have been able to go toe-to-toe with her. If anybody that I thought would be able to go toe-to-toe with her is Candace Owens, who, quite frankly, is similar in a way that she disseminates her information and the way that her quick-witted nature in dispatching people as well. So I was like, that's two titans fighting. I've described it as Godzilla versus King Kong. There's just two titans, and everything around them is going to be destroyed. It's going to be total destruction. But Laura came with the receipts, and she was relentless, and she dispatched Candace to the point where right now, as I'm recording this, Candace has mysteriously left the country, and we don't have an explanation as to why that is. But there was a lot of receipts that Laura brought forward, which are going to cause questions, which regardless of whether this got pulled out in the midst of a personal battle between the two of them, I think that there are some legitimate questions that Candace is going to have to answer now. And now with the investigation that's going on with the Southern Poverty Law Center, and they're potentially paying off some conservative or, there's not enough for me to throw any accusations out there because we just really don't know yet. But we're going to see. And apparently there's some skeletons in the closet there with a lot of mainstream influencers or mainstream commentators that have a very big following. Now, all of that being said, this is a special episode because I'm going to have a guest on. As you guys remember, I chimed in on the attack that has been washed up human piece of excrement Bill Joubran threw at a couple of influencers or a couple of X accounts that I know to be stand-up people. And I guess now that I'm looking at it, this is what his thing is. So as I was mentioning earlier, what I have learned about is trolls. And this is an advanced troll to me, Bill is. As I can break it down to you, is essentially what happens is that Bill sees a target, and I don't know if he has a list of targets. It's starting to become a little bit clear, and we'll get more clarification from my guest here in a few minutes about exactly where Bill finds these targets. But where I'm seeing that most of this is coming from TikTok, I believe. Now, I'm not part of TikTok. I don't have a TikTok account, but I know that you can post these short videos on TikTok, which is kind of not in my wheelhouse. I've started to post clips of the show that are short clips that are pertinent to stories that pop up, just to give a little bit of, airtime to a show, which usually is going to be about an hour long. And I know not everybody has the attention span to tune in for an hour. I understand that. I decided when I wanted to do this that I was going to do it in a traditional format. So a 1 hour podcast, a 1 hour show that would be converted into an audio podcast, which is kind of my favorite form of media. So I actually love the fact that I'm able to convert this, which has a visual component to it, but is still very enjoyable and very entertaining if you're sitting in the car or you're sitting at work. But Bill has targeted individuals with literally no information. And apparently what has happened is that Bill targeted this individual who let me know that he responded back and actually used footage from the invitation from my show. So What's in the Feed episode, I believe it's 7, where I called out Bill, did the point counterpoint, and basically dispatched his claim against, in this particular case, was Petty Crocker, in which one of the people in her feed, one of her friends, a couple of her friends actually got pulled into it and pulled into the beef. So what? So I had to stand up for them. This is not that they can't stand up for themselves. They've got a much larger audience. They've got much stronger voices than I do. But the point is, I'm black and they're not. And for someone to call somebody racist when, especially as an African-American, as the individual that I am, I stand on principle. And the principle is you can't just go out there throwing out accusations about racism. This is the same kind of thing that they do to Trump. This is the word that now the left has glommed on and has always glommed on as a crutch. It's a weak argument. It's weak game to me. So when I see it, I got to call it out. Because you can't just throw racist out there as a smear because you do not like the conservative nature of the content of the people that you're attacking. And that was what his problem was. And that is still what his problem is. So there must be some sort of a list on TikTok, or there must be an algorithm on TikTok which presents patriotic content. And to them, it's like the vampire getting the cross. To us, it's entertaining. We see it and we go, good point, great point. And we like it and we share it because it makes sense, because it's common sense to us. To them, they see it and it's the witch with the water. I'm melting. Their heads explode. We're never going to be able to understand how they feel that way and why they feel that way, but they do. And this guy, Bill Jubrand, is one of the most miserable fucks that I've ever seen. You can just see his delivery and his smugness in every post that he puts out. He seems to think that he's dug up some huge bone that he's going to release out on the world. And in this case, now we finally started to attack a male individual. Now, he got called out, first of all, for picking on the majority of the accounts that he was picking on, which were MAGA-based accounts, America First-based accounts, conservative accounts with tens of thousands of followers, with popular shows and popular takes on the news of the day, people that spend a lot of time and a lot of effort in their personal lives to provide content to X for all of our entertainment purposes. But this individual has decided that he is going to attack some of the more mainstream ones. But now he has attacked an individual by the name of, let me pull this up for you guys. So this is the Angry Long Island Vet. Now, how Bill got onto this individual, I'm going to have to ask. I'm going to have to ask the Long Island Vet exactly how he got on Bill's wire. But this is how I know that Bill just cherry picks. So Bill sees a post, he makes an assertion on it, he gets an emotional feel about it, and then he decides that he wants to attack. So he makes this attack on an individual right now who's just building his following. And I did a cursory search on Mr. Angry Long Island Vet, and just from a cursory search, this guy is a former active duty veteran. I believe he was in one of the Middle East wars. He can clarify, I'll ask him. An active duty soldier who was partnered up with several black soldiers who had his back. I mean, they're brothers in arms. But Bill decides that he sees this particular account, which is a America First or a MAGA account, however you want to call it. That's what I'm saying that I see. We can get further clarification from the Long Island Vet, but this is a guy who loves America. And from what I found just on the surface is that his whole platform is pointing out the hypocrisy of the racism from the left. And I think this might be a trigger for Bill, because I know when it was pointed out by Petty that was one of his triggers. They do not like to be reminded that the Democrats are the party of the KKK. Bill seems to have this thing where he wants you to denounce the KKK. He's asked all these people, just denounce the KKK. And I understand why the people that get this edict to, I want you to denounce, is because it's so ridiculous to denounce something that you haven't committed to, something that's really kind of like a myth. Look, I'm black, and I'm going to tell you that if I walk out this door and I navigate the world all over the United States of America, been out of the country, and never once do I walk out of this door with my peepers out for the KKK. The KKK is something that you see in a 70s movie. Now, doesn't it exist as an organization? I suspect that it probably does somewhere, but not to the point where Mr. Jubrand, and I think people of his ilk, seem to think that they exist. It's merely a boogeyman or a monster under the bed, as far as most people are concerned. Skinheads, I mean, if they exist, that's another 80s movie, which we know to be and this is how much I know, are known to be the representatives of the KKK. You don't see them either. So if I'm to be walking out running serpentine, trying to avoid the KKK, that's not going to be very hard for me. So I'm going to play this video, and I'm going to play this video in context. And the reason that it was brought out to me is because part of my tirade on Mr. Jubrand went viral. And as of this point in time, Mr. Jubrand has not took it upon himself either to respond to me or take me up on my invite to come up on the show, and I think you probably can guess why. But I'm going to play this video in its fullness, and then we're going to get our friend the Long Island vet on afterward. So here we go.
Failed comedian with deep insights.
And here we go, folks, with another Trumper trying to deflect his racism on the left. Dude, we can tell you're racist by your eyes. They give you a...
Man, I really wish I knew I was racist. If I'd known that, I would have never gone to Korea. And if I'd known I was racist, I wouldn't have a black guy watch my back or watch his downrange. But I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and assume that you are right and that you just don't openly accuse everyone on the right to be racist.
Opportunity to voice his side and bring the receipts as to why he thought that these people were racist. There's been a lot going on this week.
I stand corrected. It's something you just do with everybody, I guess. By the way, why didn't you go on the show? Wouldn't it be because he's black, is it?
You're the racist. You follow the older millennial. Now, did you say anything about his racist drunken tirade the other day? Did you say anything?
Didn't you say the N-word?
I said the N-word when I was 14. Go ahead and...
Didn't you say the N-word?
I said the N-word when I was 14. Go ahead and...
So going by your logic, I want a sworn statement on how not racist you are. Not only that, you should call out Dean Withers on what he said, completely condemn him, and then block him. But you won't, will you?
Actually believe Kash Patel and his indictments against the Southern Poverty Law Center? Really? You actually believe Kash Patel, who lied about the Jeffrey files, who lied about Charlie Kirk, who lied about JFK, who's lied about everything?
Wait, I just need to understand your logic here. You're making the assertion that he just made this shit up by himself. He conducted this investigation by himself. And he didn't have fucking multiple agencies, prosecutors, and a grand jury do this. Plus, the SPLC admitted after the fact that they got caught that they gave donations, but their excuse was that it was to informants. But that shit ain't true either, because they were sending the money to leaders and organizers of the KKK. So which is it? Are they making up the lie of they sent the money in the first place, or did they send it to informants? You got to pick a path, dude. And it hardly surprises me that you buy any of the shit Candace Owens said about Charlie Kirk. After all, she does surround herself with failed comedians. By the way, don't you find it a big coincidence that Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes both left for Italy after the SPLC got caught? I'm sure you don't, but, you know, you're a comedian, so you wouldn't really understand it.
Regarding Robert Byrd and the Triple K, he said it was the greatest mistake he's ever made. By the early 2000s, he renounced racism and segregation.
Robert Byrd recruited over 150 Klansmen. He was in for 5 years and became an exalted Cyclops. And you peg that down to a mistake?
Whoopsie daisy!
Even Kamala Harris, speaking of alcoholics, attacked Biden for cozying up to Byrd. Your idea of doing research must be just skimming through the shit, because you treat it as like a one-liner. But if you actually did a thorough fucking research, you'd understand that he was going for office. He got caught with a letter that exposed him in the KKK, and then he issued an apology. So there was incentive there. And I'm glad he brought up 2000, because in 2001, he was still using the N-word and got caught again. But I'll take the word of a comedian and assume that he's not hiding how he really feels. Now I'm going to pretend like you did and act like I didn't look at your video and wonder what you're about to say.
Now, let me guess, Beady Eyes, you're going to talk about there was no party switch.
And the left likes to make the argument that the party shifted. It was the old Democrats that used to be the KKK.
Right on cue.
You can read minds.
They hate to
I'm going to
admit
dumb
that.
it down for you. Here's the voting map of 1860. Notice how the South voted blue. And here's a voting map of 2024. The South voted red. That is a switch.
Except before this supposed switch, as you claim, there was more Republicans that voted for the Civil Rights Act than there were Democrats. This is what happens when a comedian does research. See, you seem to be confused. Out of the 21 Democratic congressmen in the South, only one of them switched. And it wasn't Robert Byrd. He remained a Democrat. So by your assertion, he was still the racist. See, this is what you need to understand. It wasn't a party switch. People got tired of your policies on the left, like they do now. And let's be clear, the only reason why a Democratic president pushed for the Civil Rights Act is because he wanted something out of it. And I'm just curious, 2.1 million have left your party in the last 5 years. Does that mean there was another party switch? You see, you haven't been paying attention. You want me to make a video calling out the KKK, but I just did that. You defended them getting money from the SPLC.
That's right.
You wanted me to make a video calling out specific KKK members. I just did that. You defended Robert Byrd. And while you're desperate for money, wanting to make a bet with me, probably over your failed fucking comedic career,
That's
you would lose that bet.
right. Right.
Because about every Democratic president, we can see where the racism truly is. After this one, and last but certainly not least,
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
your move, brother. It was you guys.
Very well done. You know, I watched the whole video, and let's just face it, I got a little bit of a stake in the game because he referenced me in that video. And it's a great point. Why has Bill not responded to me? You haven't seen me pop up anywhere. And the angry vet here has less of a following than I do. No, I don't proclaim to be some big, huge conglomerate or some big, huge media mogul. I just do what I do for the entertainment of those who are in my feed. We already know what the basis of the show is. It's called What's in the Feed. But this was brought to my attention that he was attacking this individual and used some of my source information. Now, I'm in 100% agreement with him. The point counterpoint, which he did, which is what a normal debate would be, and well done for doing the point counterpoint. Basically, every time Bill throws out these accusations with little or no, and I've mentioned it 100 times, and clearly everyone else sees it, that Bill just throws out these wild accusations without any research whatsoever. Because their assumption on the other side is that everybody who's conservative is just racist. But then you get somebody like myself who defeats that narrative, and not only defeats the narrative, and I'm not the only one that's like that. You got your Dom Lucres out there. You got your Andre Williamses out there, that are well known. Isaiah Washington. These very influential Black conservative content providers and X users. So I'm not the only one. However, it struck very close to home. And now I've essentially taken it upon myself to give a platform so that, the angry Long Island vet can get out to his audience. He reminds me of one of my best friends. So Bill Joubran throws out this accusation right off the bat that I look at you, I can see this guy, and he looks like a racist. This guy looks like one of my buddies, Jeff. Salt of the earth, hardworking, American, veteran, and you want to shit on the guy because he represents everything that you can't be, Bill. You can't be a hardworking, salt of the earth, America-loving individual like this guy, who takes care of his kids, who loves his country, and who does everything that is American. You can't be that. You're an angry little troll who likes to troll people because they don't believe in your rainbows and fucking unicorns that you Hollywood elite believe in. And bro, it doesn't matter how me and you mug on that mic and up on the camera like that, or flex your petty little fucking muscles, cats like you get the shit beat out of them all day, every day by red-blooded Americans like me and the angry Long Island vet. So you wouldn't want to see us in real life, but you sure as heck will attack people that you have no information on, that you don't know, and don't worry about it because you're a keyboard warrior. That being said, it's a good introduction. Let me bring on my good friend, my new friend, the angry Long Island vet. And here he is. Welcome to the show, the angry Long Island vet.
Howdy.
Hey, bud, I already played the video, so you already know. And this is a little bit of a rebuttal back to Bill. Bill's a bit of a troll. And this guy, you would probably be the first male that he responded to. Now, in your video where you referenced me, you know that there's no way in heck that he is even responding. It was radio silence.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not a TikTok guy. I went and looked at his Twitter, and he doesn't really have much of a following on Twitter. So I guess TikTok is where he finds his victims. And I'm wondering how you got on his wire. But, I want to start off by asking the question that everyone wants to know. Are you a racist?
No, I am not. Just to give you a bit of a background, my drill sergeants, they were black. I took quite a few photos of them. I was in the Army for 10 years. I had good friends of mine that are both white, black, Asian. Take your pick. It didn't matter the color, your race, the content of your character. As long as you had my back and I had yours downrange, even before then, all the way from like middle school. I grew up on Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and I was a Catholic. I attended church, and my best friend, he's black. I still talk to him to this day. He used to go to a predominantly black church, right? So me and him were big wrestling fans growing up. So
Yeah.
every other morning, I would go to his house, help him and his mom deliver newspapers. Early in the morning, about 5 o'clock, we would deliver newspapers just so we can watch wrestling later that day at his house. We've been big wrestling nerds. To this day, we still talk about wrestling.
Yeah. Well, I was joking when I said that because
Yep.
this guy tends to throw out these accusations and he doesn't even go through a cursory research. And like I said, I went through a cursory research and I saw the pictures of you in the military. And this guy could never be the kind of person that you are. I know you're a hardworking family guy, like most of us are. And this guy's a Hollywood elite who is drank the Kool-Aid, essentially, I assume, because everyone who's of a conservative ilk to these people are racist. And I said, in my case, I looked in, I knew immediately. The thing that insulted me when I watched your video was the first thing that he said was, look at this guy's eyes. This guy's a racist, right?
I'm not gonna lie, I had a good laugh at that. I thought that was pretty funny.
I mean, this is all he needs to attack a person, is to just look at a person's face and look at the eyes. This guy's a fucking skinhead, KKK, torch wielding, individual here. I thought it was ridiculous. I said this earlier, and I will tell you that you remind me of a good friend of mine, like a very, very close friend of mine. And I'm like, this guy, and you can, if you have any sort of a barometer, you have any sort of a spidey sense, you can tell by looking at people. This guy gets pleasure from the negativity.
Oh, absolutely.
So TikTok's your main platform, right?
Correct. I get a pretty good following there. That was the one I posted was from my probably like the fourth account. They like to TikTok loves to be suppressed. Obviously, I don't really do Twitter that much, to be fair, or X as it calls now, because I don't really fully understand it. But perhaps maybe it's time to shift.
Well, I mean, and that's on the opposite side is what I'm starting to discover is that there's a lot of content that I see that pops up on um, Twitter that is based on TikTok. And so
Yeah.
I got to say that I'm a late adopter to TikTok. I don't even have a TikTok account, but I'm seeing that is where his main source of targets are coming from, and the influencers that he attacked: Petty Crocker, Claire
Mhm.
Patriot, MAGA Meg, Just Jen. These
Mm.
are all they're pretty major on Twitter.
Oh yeah, I'm familiar with MAGA Meg. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Like I didn't know about him until obviously he tagged me in a video, and you're right. It's projection and reflect. It's projection at its finest. Like look at what happened today. You had Democrats standing and cheering for King Charles
Yeah.
when they're at the same time there's supposed to be no kings, right?
Yeah,
So
right.
it's hypocrisy at its finest.
Right. So they had 4 No Kings rallies, and now all of a sudden we got the whole Congress standing on their feet for a
King
king.
Charles.
Yeah, and I made a comment on one of the posts that, this happened as I was waiting on you, and I was like, okay. The hypocrisy of this must be delicious for
Mhm.
us on our side, because this is how ridiculous they are. You're
Oh,
right, it's
absolutely.
projection, and I've said this too before, that the left they are the masters of the spin. I
Oh,
mean,
absolutely.
now that we're going down the rabbit hole, I knew immediately when that shooting happened at the White House that they are not the White House, but at the correspondence dinner,
Yep.
that immediately I was going to go. I was like, how are they going to spin this?
Oh, clearly this is a third stage attempt. It's all CG and AI, I guess, according to them.
Right. Yeah. So, and I didn't know that was going to be the angle that they took. If you really want to know, you want to be honest, I didn't think they were going to go, this is a hoax. Anything else, it's a right wing, because they spent the whole 4 years of the Biden administration calling us terrorists.
Absolutely.
I mean, we know what happened on January 6th, and that'll be a touchy subject on YouTube. Who knows when this thing goes up, because they still don't want to admit that it was just a protest. But we spent 2 years basically under hostage with BLM,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
not a soul got booked for that. So, yeah, I find that hypocrisy delicious on that, man. But
No, you're
I was
absolutely 100% right.
I was curious, as it comes back to this Bill Jubrand thing. What was the original source video? I know that I got your video in response. So the original source video was, and you were explaining to me before we went on air, what was the original source video that got him worked up?
Certainly. So I highlighted the SPLC and how they got caught funding the KKK, right? And not only that, I pointed out how it's been the same MO from the Democratic side since the foundation of the KKK. Their foundation has always been to target blacks, target conservatives, to suppress votes. You can find it. It's a simple wiki. It will highlight that. And I pointed out how they've been still funding all the way back in 2016. You had the Trump rally. You had a member wearing a KKK T-shirt at the Trump rally, and Trump was there, and he's highlighting, like, in the good old days, he'd be removed so fast his head would spin.
Yeah.
So he caught wind of it. It had quite a good following. And he ended up making a video off of that, hopefully just to get my attention, get more, I guess, clicks in his favor.
I don't know. And I really don't know what is following. I mean, I've looked at his presentation as a guy who does a show. It is the most unappealing presentation of any sort of a show, or I don't know what he does, but the smugness of the guy,
Mhm.
and I'm starting to wonder if this is a formula for the left of this. Ooh, I gotcha. This gotcha thing that they do.
Yep.
Like, I was looking at your point counterpoint, and I mentioned this earlier. Respect where respect's due, because that's kind of the same thing that I did to him.
Absolutely.
You give him a point, that he gives his point, and then you give the counterpoint, and it immediately destroys the narrative. I
Well,
mean,
one of his major points was that there was a supposed party switch, right? But then
yes,
in the same breath, he highlights how defending Robert Byrd, who never switched parties.
right.
So by that standard, he was still the racist.
And the point is too, it's part of and this is not a video that you've seen, but the original video that I responded to was a video that was from Claire Patriot, who's basically defending Petty. And he says in his video, I have an advantage over you because of my skin color. The guy's literally I don't think they listen to themselves when they talk, because he's literally saying something racist as he's trying to, gauge or tell someone that they're racist. It's ridiculous.
The funny thing is, my grandmother is full Micmac. It's or also known as Mi'kmaq. We hail from Nova Scotia. I'm part Native, so but yeah, I like to file for some of this white privilege. I have yet to see it.
Yeah. You might not have to work so hard. I mean, we all know it's a fallacy, and I mean, you and I can be amused by the accusation, but he throws it out there so freely without any real information. And I think one of his real things is, because he did the same thing to you, but he did it to a couple of the other people, a couple of the other videos where he says that he needs you to denounce the KKK.
Yeah.
Which is, to me, it seems weird. Why would you denounce something that you're not involved with? I mean, like, I'm going to denounce.
I did. If he paid attention, I denounced that they were receiving funding from the SPLC. He defended it. I
Right.
denounced Robert Byrd, a former KKK member. He's defending him. You know, and you had was it LBJ, the Democratic president, who said, "I'm going to secure I'm going to get them voting these N-words voting for the next 200 years, Democrat." Right?
Yeah.
It hasn't changed.
Yes. No, it hasn't changed at all. I mean, look, I'm from I got to say that I will be clear that I was part of the brainwashing many years ago. I voted for Obama twice.
I voted for
I voted for Obama twice. The hope and change thing, right?
Mhm.
And it wasn't so necessarily because I was connected to one party or the other, but the story was a lot easier to swallow before we saw the disaster that was the 8 years of Obama.
Yeah.
Because when the last couple of years came around and we didn't see the fruition of all of the promises, well, I think it was pretty obvious at that point in time that these people are going to make promises that they're never going to deliver on, and they're still not delivering on it.
Oh no,
And we had to
absolutely. If
suffer
you look at
through it.
if you look at any of the young videos of Obama, Hillary, even Biden, at one point when it comes to like border security and stuff like that, they all sounded at one point like Trump until they got their pockets filled with cash.
Yeah. And we're starting to see that every single day, that the little thread out of the sweater is starting to unravel. Now, I'm sure that you're like I am, and that you were hoping that there would be more going on. Now, I know you've been on duty. Did you hear about the Comey indictment?
Was this today?
This was today, buddy. It's big news just right now. They announced there is a warrant for Comey's arrest. Not an indictment. There's an indictment, but there's a warrant. They're going to get him. There's going to be a perf walk, and there's going to be a mugshot, my friend.
I bet his daughter wishes she was still in the FBI to let him off the hook.
Yeah, well, yeah. I don't know how deep they're going to dig into this, but it was based on that 86-47 thing. You know, you have the shells in the ground there, and they saying that that's a threat against the president of the United States, which it is. You know, I made the comment on, or I actually, weirdly enough, commented on that. I don't know if you've seen the video of the not Charlie Kirk, but the Erica Kirk. They did some little blonde-haired model did a parody of her
Yep.
crying. And last night I posted, or I made a comment on Twitter, which is Twitter's starting to get weird again. I mean, X is
Yep.
starting to get weird. It's starting to turn back to Twitter. And I said, this little bitch needs her ass beat. And they suspended the account temporarily until I deleted that post. And I'm going, this is really rich
Yep.
that liberals can get on these platforms and call for the death of the president and called for the death of conservatives. They laughed about Charlie Kirk. They demonized his wife, poor thing.
Yep.
And do they ever get any retribution for that?
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
see it. I mean, it was really disappointing, to tell you the
I
truth.
actually had the honor of providing security for Erica Kirk at a event, so it was actually pretty good. I got to meet her. She was very friendly, very nice. I wish I could have taken pictures, but I can't do that while I'm on the on the call. That being said, Candace is probably one of the biggest issues when it comes to that, and not many people know about her ties with the House of Lords and George Farmer.
Yeah. Yeah. It's starting to come out. They, I think the part of what I actually had a viral post go out, and it was just mentioning the fact that Laura Loomer had basically bodied Candace.
Yep.
But I think Candace has been hiding for a long time
Well, she's
behind her
currently
fan
trying to,
base.
from what I'm hearing, she's trying to get a Maltese passport right now. She left for to Italy, and here's the thing: is the very day
Yeah.
that Kash Patel was it April 14th? I might be wrong on the date, but the exact same day that Kash Patel announces the SPLC charges, right? Her lawyer resigns from the Macron case, and the House of Lords puts out a report about criticizing Trump, which is the House of Lords is part of UK Parliament. This all happened on the
Yeah.
same day.
Yeah. And I don't think that there was ever any clue that that was going to get dredged up. What I'm saying is the one person you do not want to start a beef with is Laura Loomer. And I said this
Absolutely.
is because, quite simply, she brings the receipts.
Mhm.
So, there's a lot of people that will attack and show little pictures of her, memes of her with the big lips. But I go, you can make as much fun of the lady as you want. Laura Loomer, like her or not, because she's a divisive character. She's like the president. She's divisive, but she brings the receipts. And
Mhm.
Candace, I don't think she's going to be able to overcome some of the information that's coming out about her.
No, I mean, we'll see. I mean, the timeline. I just did a couple of videos on just the whole timeline. For instance, that she met George Farmer for the first time, and then 16 days later, they're engaged. Now, George Farmer, she's the supposed great, was it Christian, right? She's saying she's a Christian or Catholic,
Yes.
or And here's the thing: George Farmer sold Moloch golden bull statues, right? $400K a pop to anonymous buyers all across the world, and they got a piece of that.
That's like Moloch, right?
Yep. The child sacrifice.
Okay.
So if you're a supposed Christian, as you claim to be, why would you marry somebody that sold a child sacrifice bulls?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you saw the video where it came out. I think it might have been part of the whole dump with the Laura Loomer thing where she was talking about how the two of them met and got together and how the whole thing transpired. And there was never any, sex or any sort of courting. She said there was no courting. And I don't know. I don't know if you're married, my friend, or if you ever been married, but that's not how you want to go into a long-term commitment.
Nope, definitely not.
Unless like we would say allegedly there's something else behind it. You know what I mean?
So yeah, George Farmer also was in her leaving the airport. This is a great photo of him with a nice shiner.
Right. Yeah. The black eye, the
Mhm.
mysterious black eye that
Yep.
everybody in the club seems to have. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. I've studied on it a little bit, you
Yep.
know, but I mean, it really is wacky. We'll see how all of that stuff develops. But
And time will tell.
yeah, heck, man. I tell you what, I mean, I would really wish, I mean, to go back to what the original, and like I said, appreciate you taking the time. Like I said, I know that you're on duty right now, but this Build You brand thing, I think we can put that one to rest.
Yeah, I
I
don't see
want,
him making a reply.
I mean, because how can you? You really can't debate it. I really wish he would come on here because I would like to see what his basis on accusing people of.
Actually,
I wanted
I
to
stand
vindicate you,
corrected.
bud.
He did comment in that though. He did make a couple of comments in the post I made saying this is stupid. Defending Dean Withers.
But what I'm saying to you is that there seems to be, you pointed out the hypocrisy. You were the one who pointed out the hypocrisy that he did not respond to me.
Mhm.
And that was the most glaring, and I'm not going to say it's the most glaring part of the video, but it was very, very perceptive of you to notice that he can attack everybody else because you guys, there's an easy target, the white conservative, right?
Yep.
There's no defense in his mind. There's no defense for being who you are.
Nope.
But he sure as heck cannot throw those accusations on somebody like me. And that's
Yep.
why I put myself behind, like patriots like yourself. It's because
Thank you.
it's bullshit.
Mhm.
And you can't just throw those kind of accusations at people when you don't have the real proof. You better be able to prove racism since it's such an ugly thing.
Yeah.
And
Nowadays, you got
I
to bring
just,
a receipt as long as CVS.
yeah. No, man. And like I said, from my research and seeing the pictures in the military. By the way, where were you? Where you went overseas?
Yeah. So I got my start in South Korea. It was my first duty station. I was there for about a year. No, not a year. And then I went to Fort Drum. I got voluntold to be actually I'm in 09 to 2010. I deployed to Iraq. I did some more time at Drum. Got voluntold to be a recruiter. Did that for a little bit, and went back to Drum and pretty much finished my career there, which is way north New
Okay.
York.
Yeah, I mean, I saw some desert there, and I figured, doing a little bit of a timeline, just a mental timeline, that you were probably in one of the Gulf situations.
Yep.
And
I did the Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Iraqi Freedom. Did both of them.
right, which was a real rough go for the military. And I'm saying it's a real man who can make it through that kind of campaign and then come back and be, back in normal society. I
Yep.
looked at you immediately, knew that I could tell that you were a good guy and you're a hardworking guy. And so I wanted to, and this also, believe me, it's self advertising a little bit for myself too, because Bill didn't want to respond and now he's attacking people. You're just starting your following. I mean, I
Mhm.
looked at it and I mean, maybe 10 videos so far. And I mean, you're getting really good traction for as early in the game as you are.
Well,
So
the
kudos
videos I've
on
been
that
doing
because it's
is
hard.
yeah, it is. I'm namely just like post my videos on TikTok, and I should really start posting them a lot more, if not more so, on X because it seems to be less restrictive. You know.
Yeah, I don't really know what I assume so. TikTok's probably owned by Google or something, but
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they
so
want
I
the
don't really
recognition.
know I don't know what the restrictions are there. Twitter is probably the most wide open.
I
I
mean,
know it's wide open.
on TikTok, you'll be lucky to even talk about elections, or 2020 without getting taken down.
That's weird. You see, I mean, I was a big proponent on the hoax of the whole COVID thing.
Mhm.
I mean, there's a lot of subjects that I really haven't touched on. It seems like people have put the whole COVID thing into the memory hole. I would love to get in a full blown,
Yeah.
episode on that, but it's not entertaining to people. And there were people who had to do what they had to do. So it's an uncomfortable situation because we all got friends and family that had to, they had to
Yep.
take the pokeroonie.
Yep.
And, God knows what, and they'll never admit what the ramifications and what the side effects of those kind of things are. But
Oh no, they definitely won't.
there's definitely some no-nos. And this is why the original show is really was on Rumble. But
Mhm.
I was killing myself because most people haven't adopted yet over to that conservative,
Yeah.
over to Rumble. They still want to use YouTube. So, I had
I
to go
really
back
wish
and
more
do it
people would
on
jump over to
YouTube.
Rumble. Yeah, Rumble is
I mean,
is awesome.
it's just as good. I mean, maybe even better. But it's just we need to. I think the conservative side, they need to get more of the middle. Is what they need to do. The
Mhm.
problem is it's conservative centric, and so people are
Yeah.
scared. Some people are scared to go there. But that was what my intention was. I'm not trying to get famous or trying to turn into some big person. I just started to see that the people that we trusted are falling off, and
Yeah.
they changed the corner, and I can't. My brain and my life experience can't buy into that switch. It's too weird.
Yeah, I'm way too busy.
But
If I'm not working, I'm with my kids, and
yeah,
so there's no way.
yeah. And that's the thing too. Normal people like us can actually you know, actually make a mark, be listened to. And I've had people like, he had a pissing match with Roger Stone. Can you believe that? I mean, literally, when Roger Stone was in the beef with Laura, I chimed in and said, I never thought I would chime in and say, Daddy, stop fighting with mommy. And there was a
Huh.
back and forth. There's some screenshots on there, and I'm going, this is fucking crazy because this is Roger Stone we're talking about,
Yeah.
literally one of Trump's closest friends and advisors, and he's talking to little old me,
Yep.
And then I got people like Sebastian Gorka liking my comments. I sort of call myself the king of comments because that's really where this whole thing came from. People are like, your
Nice.
comments are hilarious because I'm a sarcastic, sort of a guy. It's a smart ass.
You're like doing one-liners
And
in the comments. Yeah, I like it.
right, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And not everybody's good at that. If you give me
Yep.
a good setup and I see it, boom, I'm teeing off. And there's a couple of creators where, I can tee off on and it's just magic. But,
Yeah.
you get people looking at your stuff and that algorithm starts to really pump in and
Yeah.
you're doing things.
Absolutely.
But heck, man. I mean, I think this has been a real good, enlightening conversation, man. You're a smart guy. You're an entertaining guy. I'd love to have you
Thank you.
on again, man.
Oh, absolutely.
Is there anywhere you would like to tell the audience to go find you? I mean, what's
Certainly.
the Twitter?
On TikTok. Yeah, so on TikTok, you can find me on Angry Long Island Veteran 2 or just Angry Long Island Veteran. You should be able to find me on there, and I generally post daily on there. You can also
Okay.
follow me on X. I'm on the Angry Long Island Vet, but that's really it.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. Like I said,
Thank you for
I know
having me
that
up.
we all got things. We got things to do, man.
Yep.
Appreciate it. I'm gonna let you go, and
All right.
thanks again.
You have a good day. God bless you. Thank you.
And that was my interview with the Long Island vet. Remember, everybody, this show is about what's in the feed. The show is all about you. That's how this all got on my wire. Sometimes I'm going to take a left at the curve in the road. So it's going to be funny most of the times, and it's definitely going to be based upon what's in the feed. But in this case, I think it was very relevant. I commend the Angry Long Island vet, for coming in here and confronting the accusation. And I think you guys can all tell. He's awesome. I'm going to have him back on again, I promise you, because he had some great information, a really smart guy, hardworking patriot. We all need to support the Angry Long Island vet, as I support all of you. So that said, I'm going to finish off this episode with the source video that started the whole beef between him and Bill. As you guys know, Bill Jubrand is a liberal, failed comedian, and in my opinion, is one of the weakest human beings on earth. I like to call him a human pile of excrement. But I do still invite Mr. Jubrand on my show if he wishes to rebuttal any of the facts that were presented today. With that, I'm going to leave you with this video. And please do your best to support and follow.
On the left for the frauds you are. See, while you guys were crying racism and that the right is filled with KKK members, it was you guys actually funding them.
SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, used the money they raised from their donor network to actually pay the leadership of these very groups. Laid out include the Ku Klux Klan, the United Klans of America, Unite to Right, National Alliance, the National Socialist Movement, the Aryan Nation Motorcycle Club, and the National Socialist Party of America, and also the American Front.
But it's really not surprising. After all, you had a president give a eulogy to a KKK member who said he was his mentor for 4 fucking decades. And the left likes to make the argument that the party shifted. It was the old Democrats that used to be the KKK. But they still are using the same MO as the original ones. And that MO is targeting blacks, targeting Republicans to suppress votes. And all that money that the Democratic group gave to the KKK, I wonder what they actually used it for.
In the good old days, they'd rip him out of that seat so fast. But today, everybody's politically correct. Our country's going to hell with being politically correct.